There's something the mental health field hasn't quite grasped yet because it's still looking through the wrong lens. Your inner critic isn't inner. It's not your voice. It's not a misunderstood inner child trying to protect itself. And it's definitely not some benevolent internal figure wrapped in passive aggressive empathy. No, it's a parasite. More precisely, it's a system interface, a cognitive handler installed via repeated exposure to authority, shame, and coercion until it began to sound exactly like you. Only it isn't. It's a ventriloquist with your voice. And you believed it was you. You didn't just accept it, you internalized it, repeated it, and defended it. You mistook it for your conscience, your sense of responsibility, your way of being a better person. But it's not interested in your integrity. It's interested in compliance. The voice you call your inner critic has a function to regulate you according to external demands. It triggers anxiety when you deviate from expected norms. It punishes you for not performing. It shames you when you pause. And most insidiously, it uses your own language, your own memory, and your own emotional palette to do so. It doesn't say society wants you to be more productive. It says you're lazy. It doesn't say that teacher in second grade told you you're not creative. It says you'll never be good enough. It doesn't say the system rewards self abuse. It says you're weak. The system externalizes commands and then internalizes enforcement. You don't need a cop if the prisoner is already yelling at himself in the cell. Modern psychology, with all its talk of parts work and self compassion, rarely questions the origin of that voice. It asks you to understand it, to listen with kindness, to welcome the part. No, you don't make peace with computer virus. You trash it. The problem is not that you're too hard on yourself. The problem is that you've been tricked into believing this thing is part of yourself at all. It isn't. It was uploaded from your parents, from teachers, from rules that were never explained but always enforced, from social media algorithms that make you feel like you're behind even if you're doing fine, from corporate slogans repackaged as self help advice, from a culture that pathologizes rest and worships hustle. It spreads by mimicry. You hear it long enough, you repeat it. You repeat it long enough, it embeds. And once embedded, it becomes self replicating, like malware that copies itself into every creative file you try to open. One of the most devastating effects of this internalized handler is how it paralyzes creativity. You may feel a deep pull to express something, an idea, an image, a sound, but find yourself unable to begin. Or worse, you start and the critic kicks in immediately, whispering that it's not good enough, that it's cringe, derivative, embarrassing, pointless, and because it speaks in your voice, you believe it. You assume it's the voice of reason, modesty, or artistic maturity. But it's none of those things. It's the voice of suppression speaking in the tone of concern. It doesn't want you to create better. It wants the impulse to dissolve before it becomes action. Every act of real creation is an act of subjectivity, of boundary breaking, of saying, this came from me. And the system doesn't tolerate unfiltered emergence. It wants output it can tag, track, monetize, and recycle. Perfectionism isn't about quality, it's the leash. It imitates care, depth, professionalism, while tightening the criteria until you abort the process. When it fails to block the idea, it inflates the standard. The critic operates as a preemptive censor. It shames not just what you produce, but even the impulse to begin. It disconnects you from the raw channel of emergence, from the part of you that doesn't ask for permission, doesn't wait to be sure, doesn't care if it's ready. The part of you that simply knows. When people say they have a block, it's often not a lack of ideas, it's fear of judgment. And when you track that fear, you'll notice it isn't even fear of external rejection. It's fear of the internal slap, the handler rising up and ridiculing you before anyone else even sees the work. It tells you to wait until you're better, smarter, more ready. It dangles the myth of someday to keep you from acting today. This isn't preparation, it's suspension, a comma with a productivity interface. I've wanted to write songs and compose music for as long as I can remember. A few years ago, I found a simple way to silence that implanted voice. I told myself, fine, I'll write a bad song. That move alone disrupted the critic's logic. No resistance, no perfectionism, just space to make a bad video, paint a bad picture, write a bad book, sing off key, and not care. Sometimes that's all it takes to feel the joy again, even before you've dismantled the whole thing. So, what do? You trace the wiring and change the vocabulary. Stop calling it my inner critic. Call it what it is, a system handler, an override command, a behavioral script designed for compliance. You start recognizing when it's speaking. You don't argue with it, you don't soothe it, you don't negotiate. You see who benefits when you obey. Spoiler, it's never you. And once you've spotted it, you can start hearing your real voice, the one that was there before formatting. Not a counter argument to the critic, but something built on a different ground entirely. It was never a construction project. It was excavation, deprogramming. You're exhausted because something keeps feeding on your energy. You're dissonant because the structure you're inside doesn't match your internal reality. You're defiant because the enclosure is no longer sealed.